everything is remembered. Your silence is power, and your discipline is protection. In this video, you'll discover 10 situations where your own mouth betrays you, and how Stoic self-mastery, emotional intelligence, and quiet confidence can save you from becoming your own worst enemy. Anger feels powerful. Your blood heats up. Your voice rises. And for a brief moment, you think you're in control. But the truth is, when rage takes over, you've surrendered the throne of your own mind. And the first thing that betrays you is not your fists, it's your mouth. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus warned, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Because anger is nothing more than chains you clasp around your own wrists, and the key is given freely to whoever provoked you. Think about what happens in those heated moments. Every secret you've buried, every resentment you've swallowed, every frustration you've disguised with a smile, all of it pours out unchecked. Your words become confessions you never planned to make. The person standing in front of you isn't your enemy, they're your interrogator. And you're handing them ammunition with every angry word. Worse still, anger makes you predictable. Once someone knows what triggers your fury, they can push those buttons whenever they want. They don't need to defeat you, they just need to provoke you. The more you react, the more they control the tempo. Your rage becomes their remote control. This is why the Stoics practiced silence in the face of provocation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. To react with fury is to become the very thing you despise, impulsive, uncontrolled, weak. The strong may feel anger, but they never broadcast it. They master it privately and respond strategically. And here's the brutal reality: once words of rage escape your mouth, they cannot be retrieved. In today's world, everything is recorded, literally and figuratively. That outburst in a meeting, that cruel remark in an argument, that insult fired in the heat of the moment, it will outlive your explanation. Your anger fades, but their memory of your words remains permanent. The Stoics didn't see anger as righteous fire. They saw it as weakness disguised as strength. Seneca wrote an entire treatise on anger, where he described it as temporary madness. When you speak in anger, you are not yourself. You are possessed. You hand your enemies not just a weapon, but a map to your weaknesses. So, what do you do instead? You master the pause. The pause is the most underestimated form of strength in modern life. Someone insults you, provokes you, mocks you. Your instinct screams to retaliate. But if you can master that pause, just 3 seconds of silence, you transform the game. Suddenly, you are not the puppet. You are the puppeteer. They expect rage, but you give them calm. They expect an explosion, but you give them stillness. And in that silence, they feel exposed. Not you. True power doesn't need to shout. It whispers. It observes. And it chooses its words like a surgeon chooses a blade with precision and purpose. The Stoics would tell you, let your words serve strategy, never emotion. Because once you speak in rage, you lose twice: first, your dignity, then your power, So train yourself. The next time fury rises, remind yourself, this is a test of mastery, not of strength. Your silence will sting far more than your shouting ever could. Affirmation: my anger does not control me. My words serve discipline, not rage. Success is a strange thing. It should make us stronger, calmer, and more disciplined. Yet for most people, it does the opposite. Victory intoxicates more dangerously than failure. Failure humbles you. It forces reflection. It sharpens your discipline. But success whispers in your ear. Show them. Tell them. Prove to the world how brilliant you are. And that's the trap. The moment you start explaining your strategies, your secrets, your path to victory, you stop being untouchable. You become predictable. What should have remained invisible becomes a public manual for your enemies. What should have been your edge becomes their education. The Stoics knew this danger well. Marcus Aurelius, though emperor of Rome, constantly reminded himself, receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance. Be ready to let it go. He understood that the true enemy of greatness is not loss, but pride. Pride makes you speak when silence would have served you. Pride makes you show when invisibility would have protected you. Pride makes you crave applause. And in craving it, you hand over your playbook to anyone willing to study it. Think about it when you post every achievement, when you detail your process, when you explain every clever move. You're not building admiration. You're giving away leverage. Your friends may clap, but your rivals are taking notes. Your audience may cheer, but your competitors are reverse engineering you. The Stoic path teaches something radically different. Let victory speak for itself. Let your results echo louder than your words. The oak tree doesn't explain how it grew. It simply towers above the forest. The ocean doesn't boast of its depth. Its silence is enough to command awe. Quiet confidence is one of the most magnetic traits a human being can possess. It creates curiosity. It leaves others wondering, how did they do it? That mystery itself becomes power. The less you explain, the more others imagine, and often, their imagination makes you far greater in their eyes than any explanation could. On the other hand, those who constantly parade their victories lose respect. They become entertainers, not leaders. They satisfy curiosity instead of building authority. In trying to prove themselves, they end up exposing themselves, and in time, their need for recognition becomes the very weakness that destroys them. Epictetus put it simply, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The same applies to success. Don't explain your wins, embody them. Carry yourself with discipline, composure, and quiet mastery. Let others guess. Let them be unsettled by the fact that they cannot fully understand your methods. In a world addicted to showing off screens, flooded with highlights, achievements, look at me moments, the Stoic stands apart. He wins quietly. He builds silently. He lets the world underestimate him until it's too late to stop him. So the next time you feel the urge to parade your victory, remember this: applause is cheap, but mystery is priceless. Applause fades, mystery compounds. Your silence doesn't make you smaller, it makes you greater. Because, in silence, you are still in control. And the one who controls his words controls his destiny. Affirmation, victory, speaks for itself. I do not need to explain what my results already prove. Wine loosens the tongue. Always has. Always will. What people guard carefully in daylight often spills recklessly in the haze of intoxication. The Stoics would look at this and say, "It's not the wine that betrays you, it's your lack of discipline." Alcohol doesn't invent new truths. It removes the filters that protect you. It disarms the guards at the gate of your mind. With every drink, your defense soften, your boundaries blur, and your deepest thoughts begin to slip through. You laugh louder. You speak faster. You confess freely. And while you think you're connecting, others are collecting. Professional manipulators understand this perfectly. They don't need to torture you for secrets. They just need to pour you another glass. They set the stage with comfort, music, warmth, and then they ask innocent questions. You, disarmed, start talking about your relationships, your money, your struggles, your ambitions, the very things you should guard. You hand over freely. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And in those intoxicated moments, you are not your master. You are a puppet of impulse, handing the strings to whoever sits across from you. The danger is not just in what you reveal, it's in who hears it. That careless admission about your doubts becomes someone's leverage. That story you told in laughter becomes tomorrow's rumor. That honest confession becomes a weapon in someone else's hands. While you forget, they remember. While you move on, they keep the receipt. The Stoics valued clarity above all. Seneca reminded himself, "Drunkenness is nothing but voluntary madness," because the moment you willingly cloud your mind, you willingly give away your power. You step out of the fortress of reason and into the open field, unarmed, surrounded by eyes, eager to see what you'll reveal. Now, let's be clear. Stoicism was never about denying all pleasures. Marcus Aurelius enjoyed meals, conversations, companionship, but he warned himself daily to enjoy them with moderation and discipline. The danger is not the drink, it is the surrender. It is the illusion that loosening your guard is harmless. In today's world, the danger is magnified. Every smartphone is a recording device. Every party could become permanent evidence. What feels like a harmless confession in the moment could live forever in a screenshot, a voice note, or a casual memory repeated at the wrong time. The wise, therefore, make a different choice. They value clarity over connection. They understand that not every setting deserves their full honesty. They protect their energy, their words, their image, because they know once given away, these cannot be reclaimed. This is the essence of emotional intelligence, recognizing that connection built on intoxicated words is not real connection. It is a false intimacy, one that will not stand when the light of day returns. So what is the Stoic response? To remain sober in spirit, even if the glass is in hand. To guard the tongue as carefully as the heart. to never allow temporary desire for belonging to create permanent consequences for reputation, because in the end, the strongest mind is the clear mind, and clarity will always outlast intoxication. Affirmation: clarity is my strength. My words remain guarded. Even when the world tempts me to let them go, pressure has a way of stripping away masks. Deadlines close in. Responsibilities pile up. Expectations multiply, and suddenly, the polished image you've spent years building begins to crack. Under stress, most people don't reveal their strength. They reveal their weakness. And the first thing that betrays them is their mouth. You've probably seen it happen. The professional who, under pressure, begins to confess incompetence. The friend who blurts out secrets they swore they'd never share. The colleague who vents frustrations in the wrong room to the wrong audience. In the moment, it feels like release, but to those listening, it feels like confirmation. Confirmation that you're not as strong as you appear, not as capable as you claim, not as composed as you pretend. The Stoics taught us that pressure is not the enemy. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Pressure is the crucible where character is formed. But for the undisciplined, pressure is a stage where weaknesses are broadcast. Here's the truth. Stress doesn't just test you, it exposes you. It pulls truths out of your mouth you never intended to share. You confess to being unprepared, admit doubts about your ability, or reveal fears about the future. And the people listening, they don't always hear your humanity. They hear opportunity to outshine you, to position themselves above you, to use your vulnerability against you. Think of it this way: when you speak out of desperation, you hand your rivals a map. You're telling them exactly where to apply more pressure, exactly where to poke, exactly where to push until you break completely. The Stoic response is radically different. Instead of using words to relieve stress, they used discipline to endure it. They believed composure under pressure was the purest form of strength. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold. Adversity tests men." For him, pressure was not an excuse to unravel. It was a chance to prove inner fortitude. This doesn't mean pretending nothing is wrong. It means learning the art of silence under strain. It means understanding that not everyone deserves to hear your worries. It means practicing what Epictetus taught. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. In moments of high stress, the wisest action is often to observe, breathe, and respond with restraint rather than confession. Here's a secret. The people who maintain composure when everyone else is breaking don't just survive pressure, they gain respect. Their silence under fire becomes evidence of strength. Their refusal to crumble becomes a lesson for others. And their ability to endure without spilling their doubts earns them trust and influence. Contrast that with those who let their mouths run wild under stress. They think they're venting, but really, they're destroying their credibility. They think they're sharing honestly, but really, they're handing ammunition to anyone who wants to see them fail. The Stoics remind us, pressure itself is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. What defines its outcome is how we respond. if your words betray you under stress. The world will remember your weakness long after the pressure has passed. But if your silence holds, your strength will echo long after the moment is gone. Affirmation: pressure does not break me. My silence under stress is my strength. Not every attack looks like an attack. Some arrive dressed in tears, cloaked in stories of pain, wrapped in pleas for understanding. And while you're busy trying to be kind, compassionate, and supportive, you don't realize your mouth is betraying you, handing over secrets, confessing vulnerabilities, and revealing details that will later be used against you. This is the trap of sympathy extraction. Manipulators know that the quickest way to lower your defenses isn't confrontation, it's compassion. They don't demand your secrets. They invite them. They share a perfectly timed sob story, a carefully rehearsed tale of hardship, a vulnerability that feels authentic but is actually strategic. And you lean in, you nod, you offer your own story in solidarity, you reveal too much in an attempt to show empathy. But here's the harsh truth. Real vulnerability is messy, inconsistent, and often private. Performed vulnerability is polished. It's designed not to share pain but to harvest yours. And once you've spoken, you can't unspeak it. The secret you revealed in kindness becomes a weapon in someone else's arsenal. The Stoics warned us about this very danger. Epictetus reminded his students to keep your own affairs private and to never assume another's intentions are pure. For him, compassion did not mean naivete. It meant acting from principle, not impulse. You can help others without exposing yourself. You can offer kindness without surrendering your boundaries. Think about it: every time you share a weakness with the wrong person, you've just armed them. You believe you've built connection. But in truth, you've created leverage they can use to influence, manipulate, or discredit you. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." That is the Stoic filter for compassion. Not everyone deserves your full story. Not everyone should be trusted with your pain. The wise know how to give encouragement without offering vulnerability. They support without confessing. They uplift without disarming themselves. This is where emotional intelligence becomes your shield. Emotional intelligence is not about being endlessly open. It's about recognizing context. Who is asking for your story? Why are they asking? How are they going to use it once they have it? The moment you sense that their curiosity is strategic rather than genuine, you stop speaking. You help in action, not in confession. The truly powerful give generously while remaining guarded. They offer advice, guidance, even material support, but they never pay with secrets. They maintain psychological boundaries so clear that even manipulators cannot cross them. Remember, kindness without boundaries is weakness, and weakness in the wrong room is fatal. So the next time someone shares a perfectly timed hardship, pause. Ask yourself, are they revealing pain, or are they rehearsing it? Are they asking for help, or are they fishing for leverage? Respond with compassion, but protect your silence, because the Stoics would tell you, strength is not in revealing everything, it's in knowing what must remain hidden. Affirmation: I help without exposing. My compassion is strength, not weakness. Every group has its own currency. In markets, it's money. In politics, it's influence. And in social circles, it's information. Words become the coins. People trade secrets, opinions, gossip, confessions. What feels like harmless conversation is often a marketplace where your credibility is bought and sold. This is the danger of the information exchange. Most people enter gossip casually. They think it's entertainment, a way to bond, a way to feel connected. But in reality, gossip is an economy. And just like in any economy, there are winners and losers. The winners are those who collect information but never pay with their own. The losers are those who trade away their secrets, their credibility, their character, often for nothing in return. The Stoics would call this a failure of self-mastery. Epictetus taught, "If it is not necessary, do not say it," because unnecessary words are rarely harmless. They reveal more about you than about the person you're talking about. Every time you gossip, you don't just expose someone else, you expose your own lack of discipline. Think carefully about what happens when you speak too freely. You share a colleague's weakness, and suddenly others wonder how you'll speak of them when they're not in the room. You repeat a story meant to stay private, and you advertise your unreliability louder than any insult could. You pass along gossip, and without realizing it, you paint yourself as someone who cannot be trusted. Marcus Aurelius urged himself daily, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And by extension, your reputation becomes dyed with the color of your words. Gossip stains you far more than the person you're speaking about, because while people may forget the story, they will remember that you were the one who carried it. The dangerous part of the information exchange is how subtle it is. No one asks you to betray yourself outright. They invite you into a conversation. They share something intriguing. They nudge you to just be honest, and you, craving connection, contribute piece by piece. You hand over your values in the form of careless words. The wise, however, learn to master the marketplace. They listen carefully. They observe who says what and why. They gather intelligence without advertising themselves. They contribute only words that add value, never words that expose weakness. They become information collectors, not distributors, and in doing so, they rise silently in influence. This is why silence is so powerful. Silence turns you into a mystery. People project strength onto those they cannot read. They begin to wonder what you know, what you've seen, what you're holding back. They feel safe confiding in you, because you never leak. And the paradox is, by saying less, you learn more. By keeping quiet, you rise higher. The Stoics remind us, reputation is not built on performance alone, but on perception. And nothing destroys perception faster than a careless tongue. To master your destiny, you must master the economy of words. So the next time gossip circles around you, remember, every sentence is currency. Spend nothing, collect everything. Because in a world where everyone is oversharing, the one who keeps quiet becomes the richest of all. Affirmation: I listen more than I speak. My silence is my wealth. Few situations test your tongue more than being confronted by authority. A boss criticizes you unfairly. A superior questions your competence. A parent, teacher, or leader challenges your decisions. In those moments, every instinct screams to defend yourself, to argue, to prove your worth with words. But here is the trap: the more you speak, the more you lose. Authority rarely seeks your explanation. Authority seeks your composure. And when you let anger, frustration, or self-justification pour out of your mouth, you're not proving your strength, you're proving your lack of discipline. The Stoics knew this dynamic well. Marcus Aurelius, himself the most powerful man on earth, constantly reminded himself to be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Authority tests are rarely about fairness. They're about whether you can hold your frame under pressure. The truth is, people with power don't need your words. They need results. When you react emotionally to authority, you confirm their doubts. You show them your weakness. You reveal that their criticism can destabilize you, and once they know they can provoke you, they own the power dynamic forever. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. What he meant is simple. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone who questions you. You don't need to justify every choice the moment it's challenged. In fact, restraint often communicates more power than defense ever could. Think of the professional who, when attacked by a superior, stays calm, listens, nods, and quietly delivers results later. Their silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Because the same authority that criticized them will be forced to acknowledge results when they arrive. The same authority that doubted them will be silenced not by words, but by undeniable performance. Contrast this with the person who explodes under authority. They argue back, they justify endlessly, they complain about fairness. In doing so, they give away the only real advantage: they had their composure. Now, instead of remembering the injustice of the criticism, everyone remembers the spectacle of their reaction. Seneca taught, it is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence. The authority trap is failing to recognize that season. Defend yourself too quickly, and you'll look insecure. Stay silent. Hold your ground. And deliver quietly. And suddenly the power shifts back to you. This doesn't mean you should always submit or allow injustice to go unchallenged. It means you must choose your battles wisely. Not every criticism deserves your rebuttal. Not every challenge deserves your explanation. Sometimes, silence today sets the stage for undeniable proof tomorrow. Authority operates by different rules than fairness. If you want respect within those structures, let your work speak. Let your results argue. Let your discipline earn what your words cannot. Because in the end, authority respects one thing more than talk mastery. And mastery is never proven in the heat of argument, it's revealed in the calm of consistent results. Affirmation: I do not defend myself with words. My results speak louder than arguments. When someone betrays you, The temptation is overwhelming. You know their secrets. You've seen their weakness. You carry the kind of knowledge that could destroy their reputation if you let a single sentence slip. And in that moment, your mouth whispers to you, "Say it, expose them. Let the world see who they really are." But here is the hidden danger. When you reveal their secrets, you don't just destroy them, you destroy yourself. Revenge through revelation feels like justice, but in reality, it is self-sabotage. Why? Because every relationship, no matter how close, is an exchange of confidences. If you expose theirs, the world assumes you will expose anyone's. You may hurt your enemy, but you brand yourself as untrustworthy. Employers, allies, friends, partners, they all start to wonder, what will this person say about me when things go wrong? And just like that, your reputation becomes weaker than your enemy's offense ever was. The Stoics warned us against this exact trap. Seneca said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. To retaliate by spilling secrets makes you their mirror image, emotional, careless, enslaved by passion." The Stoic path is harder, but infinitely stronger. Remain silent. Preserve your dignity. Let your discipline speak for you. Think of Marcus Aurelius, who endured betrayals, conspiracies, and false accusations. Even as emperor, he had the power to expose and destroy anyone. Yet he wrote in his meditations, "The best way of avenging yourself is not to become like the wrongdoer." He understood that real power isn't in retaliation, it's in refusing to be dragged down to the level of those who wrong you. When you reveal in anger, you burn your credibility. When you stay silent, you store power. Secrets held become leverage. Silence in the face of betrayal becomes a form of dominance. It unsettles those who hurt you more than any words could, because they're left wondering, what does he know? Why hasn't she spoken? What will they do instead? This is emotional intelligence at its highest level, to see beyond the impulse of the moment and act from principle, not passion. Your silence becomes your shield, and your restraint becomes your weapon. People will respect you more for what you chose not to say than for any clever insult you could have delivered. The truth is, simple words spoken in revenge vanish quickly, but reputations lost last forever. Silence, however, créate présence. It makes people cautious. It builds the image that you are someone who does not waste power on petty fights, but saves it for the battles that matter. So the next time you feel the urge to expose someone in retaliation, pause. Ask yourself, do I want to win this moment? Or do I want to win my future? The Stoics would answer for you, win the future. Hold your silence. Let your discipline sting louder than any secret you could reveal. Affirmation: my silence is my revenge. I rise above betrayal without lowering myself to their level. One of the most subtle ways your mouth betrays you is when you feel the desperate need to prove yourself. We've all been there, sitting in a meeting, standing in a conversation, feeling that itch to announce our intelligence, our achievements, or our importance. But here's the trap: the more you talk to prove yourself, the more you expose your insecurity. This is the competence theater, When words become a performance meant to convince others, you are confident, knowledgeable, or powerful. Instead of inspiring respect, it triggers doubt. Instead of building credibility, it exposes weakness. The louder you speak of your worth, the less others believe it. Think of the person who constantly name drops, overshares, or explains in exhausting detail just to appear knowledgeable. Their intention is to impress, but what they actually communicate is insecurity. They reveal exactly where they feel small, and in doing so, they hand others the tools to manipulate them. When someone sees that your ego is hooked on recognition, they can pull that string whenever they want, flatter you to gain influence or criticize you to destabilize you. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." True strength doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need applause. A wise person allows their actions, not their words, to carry their reputation. This is why the quiet man in the room often commands more respect than the one who won't stop talking. Silence leaves space for imagination. Others project competence onto you when you don't over-explain. But when you constantly perform confidence, you eliminate mystery and reveal desperation. Consider the psychological truth. The need to prove something is itself evidence that you doubt it. When you speak endlessly about your intelligence, you show that you're afraid it won't be seen. When you argue loudly about your strength, you show that you secretly feel weak. When you constantly announce your worth, you show that you don't fully believe it yourself. The Stoic approach is the opposite. A Stoic doesn't enter a room with the goal of being noticed. He enters with the goal of observing, learning, and acting with purpose. His competence is revealed in precise words, careful silence, and strategic action. And because he doesn't demand respect, he commands it. Think of Marcus Aurelius. The emperor of Rome could have broadcast his authority in every word. Instead, his writings are filled with humility, reminders of his own mortality, and the discipline to let deeds speak louder than titles. His strength was unquestionable, not because he shouted about it, but because he embodied it. This is where emotional intelligence comes in. You must become comfortable with not correcting every misunderstanding, not defending every slight, not announcing every success. Let people underestimate you. Let them question you, because the moment you stop trying to prove, you stop revealing your weaknesses. You conserve energy, build mystery, and force others to pay attention to what truly matters: your results. Remember, this performance fades. But substance endure. People forget speeches, but they remember outcomes. Words might impress in the short term, but character and action write the long-term story of your power. So the next time your ego tempts you to overtalk, pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking to create impact, or am I speaking to defend my insecurity? A Stoic knows the answer. He speaks only when words serve purpose. He doesn't need to perform competence because true competence never needs a stage. Affirmation. My results speak louder than my words. I don't need to perform. I embody strength in silence. One of the most dangerous ways your mouth betrays you is not in anger, gossip, or drunken confession, but in promises. Words spoken as commitments feel noble, even empowering. You want to please others, ease pressure, and escape conflict. So, your mouth jumps ahead of your reality and writes checks your future cannot cash. This is the promise prison where every careless commitment becomes a chain around your neck. At first, promises feel like relief. You calm your boss by promising a result. You reassure your partner by promising a change. You satisfy a client by promising delivery. In the moment, it feels like a solution, but every promise is also a debt, and debts come due when you can't deliver. The very words meant to save you become evidence against you. The Stoics would call this self-betrayal, because instead of facing reality with courage, you create illusions with words. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Never value anything as profitable that compels you to break your word or lose your self-respect." Every broken promise erodes your reputation. Every unkept commitment makes people question not just your ability, but your integrity. And here's the most dangerous part. Broken promises compound. One failure creates mistrust. 2 failures create a reputation. 3 failures, and you are branded unreliable, a label almost impossible to erase. Suddenly, people stop giving you opportunities. They stop believing your word. They stop including you in serious conversations, not because of your competence, but because your words destroyed your credibility. This is why the Stoic path is clear: under promise, over-deliver, promise little, execute much, speak less, act more. Let your silence create anticipation, and let your actions exceed expectations. That way, your words become rare and valuable, because when you do make a promise, people know it is unshakable. Emotional intelligence teaches the same lesson. Promises are not just agreements, they are psychological contracts. When you break them, you don't just disappoint others, you betray trust. And trust, once broken, is harder to repair than any financial debt. A single careless "I'll be there," "I'll do it," or "I'll change" can haunt you for years if left unfulfilled. Think about it. How many friendships, businesses, and families have collapsed, not because of cruelty, but because of broken promises? The promise of loyalty betrayed, the promise of partnership abandoned, the promise of change forgotten. Words, spoken too easily, become knives that cut deeper than lies, because promises are lies wrapped in hope. The Stoics would remind us, the disciplined man fears not what he cannot control, but what he says without thinking. If you cannot guarantee it, do not speak it. If you cannot deliver it, do not promise it. Better to surprise others with unexpected results than to disappoint them with unkept commitments. So when pressure rises, resist the urge to promise your way out. Instead, respond with clarity: "I will do what I can. I'll give my best effort." Or better yet, say nothing. Then act decisively. Let results speak where promises would have trapped you. Because the truth is simple: your word is your empire. Every fulfilled commitment builds its walls higher. Every broken promise tears them down. Guard your words like treasure, because once wasted, they cannot be redeemed. Affirmation: I promise less and deliver more. My silence builds trust, and my actions prove my worth. So now you know the greatest enemy of your success isn't always the people who hate you. It's your own mouth. Every careless word becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. Every angry outburst, every drunken confession, every empty promise, it's all ammunition waiting to be used against you. But the moment you master your words, you master your destiny. The Stoics understood this silence is not weakness, it's discipline. Words are not just sounds, they are power. Speak them with precision, or hold them with restraint, because in the end, your voice can either build your empire or burn it to the ground. If this video opened your eyes, don't just move on. Take control. Train your tongue the way a warrior trains his sword. Promise less. Speak less. Deliver more. And watch how your silence begins to command more respect than noise ever could. If you found value here, subscribe to Think Stoic 101, because every week we unlock ancient wisdom and modern psychology to help you rise above manipulation. Protect your peace and sharpen your emotional intelligence. Drop this in the comments if you're ready to win the war with your own words. My silence is power. And remember, true strength doesn't shout. It whispers. It waits. And then it conquers.